This Sigma 14mm art lens isn't an ordinary lens. Firstly, it's really wide. And secondly, it has a massive maximum aperture for the focal length. It's f1.4. That f1.4 aperture makes it ideal for night sky photography because we can get relatively short shutter speeds without cranking the ISO up too high. The wide angle and the wide aperture, however, combined give us this really bulbous front element. And when you have a convex element like this at the front of the lens that bulges out, you have problems fitting filters. You can't, there's no filter thread there. Usually the solution is to have a collar system that fits over the back of the lens like this, and you use sheet filters on the front. There's a couple of problems with that, of course. The system needs to be really big so it doesn't get into the angle of view of the lens, and also the filters are big and they tend to be pretty expensive. Also with a lens like this, you've got extensive depth of field, even at moderate apertures. So you need to keep those filters really, really clean. Otherwise, dust and marks will show up in your photographs. And they also attract quite a lot of stray light, so you can get flare quite easily. In this lens, though, we have an altogether neater solution. Filters that fit into the rear of the lens rather than ones that go over the front. Sigma's built a filter holder into the rear baffle, so we can fit filters between the last element and the camera's sensor. These filters can be much smaller, and as they sit in the dark between the lens and the sensor, they're much less likely to create flare and to attract odd reflections. The filters are this strange shape as they have a raised section that extends beyond the area that the image-forming light passes through, and which is used to hold the filter in place. The mount area has a sliding catch that shifts across once the filter is in place to hold it tight. It's pretty clever. The filters I'm using here are from Haida, and I have a set of neutral densities from 0.9 to 3, or 3 stops to 10 stops. And this filter is called a Clear Night filter and is designed to reduce the effects of light pollution in night sky photography when you're near built-up areas. Obviously the NDs are for landscapers and the Clear Night is for astro fans. NDs on a lens like this also allow us to use the maximum aperture on a bright day without running out our shutter speeds. And also when we're filming, we can use any aperture we like while maintaining a 180-degree shutter. So they're not just for long exposures. Sigma's designed a very cool feature into this lens hood as well. It's 2 little storage areas. You press in one of 2 catches on the inside of the hood and the compartment opens. You drop the filter in, and as you pull the catch back into place, the filter gets swallowed. It's very handy and quite good fun to play with. The filters are very small and thin, so they need to be handled with a lot of care, and they need to be kept clean. But it's quite hard to fit and remove them without getting your fingers on the glass. It's also almost impossible to fit and remove them when the lens is in the shooting position on your tripod. You will drop them whether you're working in the dark or not. After more than a few accidents, I just had to accept that the lens needs to be facing downwards so that gravity holds the filter in place while you're moving the retaining catch backwards and forwards. If you can, fit the filter before you go out, especially for astro work where you'll be operating in the dark. If you fit the filter ahead of time before you go out, and then you put your camera lens together into your camera bag and then you drive off and it's bouncing around a little bit. When you get to your location, just check that the filter's still in place. The catch is pretty good in the back of the lens, but on one occasion I did have it slide across. Maybe I hadn't put it across properly and the filter was wobbling around in the back there. Obviously that's not ideal, but it's easily fixed. You just need to check it before you start shooting. Another accessory that astro fans will appreciate that's made by Haida is this anti-fog belt. It wraps around the front of the lens and it's powered by USB to keep the front element of your lens warm to stop it misting up during long exposures. If you get to the end of a 1-hour exposure and you discover that your front element's got mist or frost on it, it can be a little bit disappointing. It's got 3 settings and it's pretty low powered, so you can run off your USB power bank for quite a long time. It's got a long cable, so I strapped the power bank to the tripod leg and ran it from there. So it worked very well. And on nights that aren't especially cold, you can put the belt into your pocket to keep your hands warm. The belt fits really nicely on the Sigma lens because Sigma has thoughtfully designed a ridge right behind the hood for the belt to slide up to. This means it will always be in the right place and it's easy to fit even in the dark. These accessories aren't necessarily groundbreaking, but they really add something to the experience of using the lens. The Clear Night filter has a definite effect on reducing the orange glow from light pollution from cities. I was expecting only the orange of the sky to be reduced by the filter, but it works on wavelengths between 560 to 615 nanometers or thereabouts. So it hits the yellowy green of modern white LEDs as well. This allows the natural colours of the night sky to really shine through and present colours that I couldn't easily get just by adjusting white balance in software afterwards. So this is a really great set of accessories that I highly recommend for anybody using the Sigma 14mm f1.4 DG/DN art lens.